Hi there, thanks for tuning in again. In this episode, I wanted to do a couple of things. One is I wanted to share some footage of Dylan visiting one of his favorite places, which he calls and will call in this episode the fish store. You'll be able to see from the footage where exactly we're at, but he loves to go to the fish store. It's very much sensory overload, so we try to tread really cautiously there. But I'll share one of the recent trips to the fish store with Dylan. But I also wanted to give you a really quick update on how the life skills challenge is going with working on Dylan at the grocery store. So stay tuned and we'll jump right into it. Okay, so if you've been following my last couple of episodes, I've been showing you some of the work we're doing with Dylan on life skills, specifically related to going to the grocery store. Again, one of Dylan's favorite activities, but largely uncontrolled in the past, as far as just allowing him to be able to kind of roam the store, pick out what he wants, and then we leave before he starts to get too agitated. In the past, whenever I've tried to pick up a couple of things that I need at the same time, he's not always terribly tolerant of that, so that's been something that we've been working on. And we took him again yesterday to the grocery store, and without boring you with footage, it went basically the same as the last time in part 2 of the videos that I showed you. He handled it really well. I can show you, we were able to get all the things off of our list. If you can see the check marks here, the milk, the bacon, the coffee, and then Dylan's turn. He had a good time doing that. Still need to work on placing items in the shopping basket. I did get him to hand the milk to Grandpa at least and not toss it into the shopping basket, which was good, but the bacon and the coffee were pretty much tossed into the shopping basket. So still working on that, but generally he handled it really well, and we'll continue to work on the grocery shopping experience over time. I think the next step is I want to change up the items on his grocery list a little bit and make it not the same thing every time. Maybe add one more item for now because I don't want to push his tolerance level too much, but I do want to continue to practice it and change it up just a little bit. So I'll keep you posted on how that's going. In the meantime, I wanted to share a little bit of footage of one of Dylan's favorite excursions. About twice a month or so, he asks to go to the fish store. And if you don't know what that means, I'll show you in this footage and you'll recognize it pretty quick. And if you have one like this near you, you've seen the very large aquarium that they have in there, and that's why he calls it the fish store. So I'll show you some of the footage here and we'll just jump right into it. Again, one of Dylan's favorite activities, very much sensory overload. But he does really enjoy it. It tends to be that he likes to first take a lot of laps across the store, upstairs and downstairs, and really check everything out. Doesn't necessarily shop. I think he's just trying to kind of take it all in. So I think he likes the vantage point of being upstairs and looking down, and makes me a little bit nervous, of course, but we do go upstairs, we walk around, we stop, and we look downstairs for a little bit and kind of take everything in. And I just let him lead the way for the most part. Grandpa's here with me again, of course, just to make sure we don't have any incidents that can't be managed. But generally, we kind of let Dylan lead the way. At some point, he'll find a drink and a snack. And we allow him to do that. And then around the time that he's found his drink and a snack, he tends to like to sit in front of the aquarium and just watch the fish for a while. And so we did that in this particular trip, and I've got some pictures and some video of him enjoying watching the fish swim around in the aquarium. It was a little bit busy. It was either a Saturday or a Sunday recently whenever we took this trip, and naturally this particular store stays pretty busy on the weekends. And there were a couple of people that obviously didn't realize they were standing right in front of Dylan as he sat on the bench watching the fish. Got a little bit nervous for a few minutes that he wasn't going to tolerate that well. He kind of fussed at me about them standing in his way. Thankfully, they moved pretty quickly. I think they just happened to, but I didn't have any issues with that, thank goodness. So working on Dylan's tolerance and ability to express some of those things is another thing that I want to work on. It's challenging when you have a nonverbal child and they don't know how to appropriately, politely ask someone to move, or just to move himself to a better vantage point even, is something that we're going to try to continue to work on. But he did enjoy sitting and watching the fish in the aquarium for quite some time. And then we made a couple of more rounds of the store upstairs and downstairs before he decided he was ready to go. So we try really hard to limit the fish store trips to times whenever we know Dylan's mood is a little bit more predictable, just because of the size of the store, the sensory nature of the store, and the fact that it tends to stay pretty busy on the weekends and it's a little bit more crowded. But it is something Dylan really enjoys doing, so we try to do that trip as much as we possibly can. It did make me really nervous at this point when Dylan was carrying his drink as we walked around the store. It was open, and we were walking around upstairs, and he was looking over the edge of the balcony. That made me really nervous. For some reason, I could just envision that drink being poured from the top onto someone or something down below, and don't mind the cat behind me, to something down below, and that of course would be horrifying. So I stayed really close behind him, hoping to intervene and stop something like that if it were to occur, but also not give him the idea at the same time that I was concerned about it, because that's something I try really hard not to do with Dylan as well. Get that idea in his head, and now it becomes a game. So watched him really close. Thank goodness that didn't occur in this particular trip. But I think were we to do this trip again, I think that I'll try really hard to make sure that either the snack's not open until after we leave the store, or we don't go back upstairs again unless he hands over the drink, so that I can control it. So that's something that we'll watch really carefully. He did also stop and play the shooting game, which was kind of fun to watch him kind of play with that for a minute. I didn't put money in it. We didn't stay for very long, but he saw other kids doing it and wanted to try it as well. We waited for just a minute for Grandpa to pick out a pair of house shoes that were on sale, and Dylan tolerated that really well. And then we called the trip good. All right, so that's a little footage for you. To show you one of Dylan's favorite activities, which is visiting the fish store, and hopefully you enjoyed that, and talking through some of the things that concern me while we're there and some of the challenges that we have at the same time with Dylan. Trying to allow him to do the things that he enjoys, but also trying to make sure that it's controlled and enjoyable for him as well at the same time can be very challenging. I gave you a little update on the grocery shopping challenge that we're working on with the life skills. So stay tuned for future updates on that and how it's going and how Dylan's doing. I also plan to figure out how I want to talk about planning for the future with Dylan on these episodes for my YouTube blog. Dylan will be 16 in April, and naturally there's some decisions that are going to need to be made in the next couple of years. About the time he's 18, he'll be aging out of the public school system, and we're going to need to figure out what the future looks like for Dylan. So it's an emotional topic for me. It's a scary topic for me, but it's something that's very much on our minds right now. So not only financial planning, guardianship, how he'll spend his days, where he'll spend his days, all of that is something that's very much on our minds right now, and a lot of open questions with no answers right now, especially considering the state that we live in. Very, very limited opportunities for Dylan and his future. So that'll be a topic of conversation in future videos as soon as I can figure out how I want to talk about it, and just get it straight in my own head first of all before we start broaching that topic on the video. But just know that it's on our minds. It's something that's very concerning, and I'm sure that many of you as parents or guardians can relate as well. So if you have any particular comments or suggestions, you want to leave those for me, or questions. Maybe you're curious about the same thing and you don't know where to start. So not sure I have the answers for where to start. We're going to have to probably figure this out the long and hard way as well, but I'll share that process as we go. All right, so thanks again for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed watching Dylan at the fish store. And as always, if you like what you see here and you want to see more and follow Dylan's story, then be sure and click the subscribe button up here. And I'll link a couple of other videos over here that you might enjoy watching as well. So until next time, have a great weekend. Thanks.